Hello, everybody. My name is Justine Gramling, and I am an analyst with 9B, and I'm here to share with you today two quick data tips in Excel, and we're going to walk through the VLOOKUP and the COUNTIF function. And both of these functions are very useful, especially if you have tons of different tabs and sheets and a lot of data in Excel that you need to filter through to find some answers with. So for this example, I have created a pretend company and have given different customers a date of purchase as well as what they purchased with my pretend company, the type of clothing that they purchased with my pretend company. And I want to see when they last purchased and as well as what clothing item was most often purchased. So both of these functions can be extremely useful. Like I said, if you have a ton of data, you don't want to have to filter between sheet and hand count the cells or look up the most recent cell. They definitely can save you a ton of time. And so I'll just walk through really quickly what these functions are doing and how you can get to the answer. So starting with a VLOOKUP, again, this is helpful going from sheet to sheet. So I want to see the last date of purchase for this customer with this email. So looking at Sue Jones, for example, I want to see when she last purchased with me. And so Excel's really handy in that if you double click, you can see these little hints down here with the function, and it'll kind of give you a step-by-step what you should be entering next when you're working with these functions. So the lookup value to start is the email that I want to find, because I want to find when Sue Jones last purchased with me. So I want to look at cell C4. The next value is the table array. The table array value is basically you telling Excel where to look and what columns to look in. So my sheet 2 that I showed you all, sheet 2 contains columns A through C, and I'm telling Excel, hey, look at this sheet. The next value is the index number, the column index number. This references the specific column where Excel may find this specific value. So I'm telling Excel, hey, look at column 2 in sheet 2 for value Sue Jones. And then the last is whether or not you want an exact match for this value or an approximate match. And in this case, we want an exact match, which is what false indicates. So when I enter down, I get last date of purchase 5/7 for Sue Jones. So we can double check that by going to this sheet. And we see here we have 3 entries for Sue Jones. Sue Jones purchased 3 different clothing categories, and her last date of purchase with us was 5/7/22. And here we have 5/7/22. So pretty simple in that it filtered the data for us and gave us the column with the correct answer. And all I had to do was double click and drop down, and then it did this same formula, but for the next row for the next person, which is really nice that Excel lets you do that, just double click and drop down, rather than you having to type in the formula every single time for each different person. So that's how a VLOOKUP works. We also have a COUNTIF function, which again is super simple, very helpful if you're wanting to count something within your sheets. So the way COUNTIF works, again, Excel is really handy in that it'll tell you what to put where when you type in the function. So here, COUNTIF is a lot simpler in that it only requires 2 different criteria inputs. So I'm telling it a range, and my range that I'm telling it is, let me backtrack. So the clothing category most often purchased, I just want to see the count of how many times each of these clothing categories was purchased, most often purchased. So beginning with, I have this range. So again, I'm telling it to look at sheet 2, and I want it to look in column C2 through C14. This column right here has my range of clothing categories. So going back, undo this, type this, apologize. All right, C2 through C14. And then my criteria that I'm telling it to look at is I want within the column that has the clothing category, I want it to count how many times that this clothing category appears. So sheet 1, cell F6. So now when I hit enter, it referenced this cell and how many times it appeared on sheet 2 in this column. So we can go back, double check that to make sure it's correct. So if we're looking at clothing category casual, we see it counted it 4 times in this sheet on this column. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it is correct. And again, we can just drag and drop and double click and it'll auto-populate for the rest of the cells, which is really nice without you having to type in the formula multiple times. So that is all I have for you all. Hopefully you guys find this useful and it'll make your life a lot easier whenever you're having to work with Excel and a ton of data. Using these 2 simple functions can really definitely make things go a ton faster for you. And yeah, appreciate you guys for listening. And we look forward to working with you all again soon.